I did get an email from a lady, and I'm going to respond to her email. However, if we can address part of it, maybe I can get her to listen to the archive of today's show.
Sure.
I'll try to make a synopsis of it. She's in a relationship, and she actually referred to him as her ex, but he broke her foot, and
Ouch.
she had to have surgery, and so right now she can't walk, and he is the only person she's got to take care of her while she mends. You got some crackling on your end. And she said that he on a regular basis slanders her and mocks her and like kind of brainwashes her and everything, but she's like stuck, and that she feels like he tries to do that to get a negative reaction from her because he feeds off of that negative reaction. And said as soon as she can get to a place where she can walk, she's out of there. She realizes that she got into the situation being codependent, that she wanted to help him, and now she feels like she's getting bitter and losing herself.
Well, my offering would be that you really want to free yourself of that bitterness. Now, here's what I'll say, seeing as how we haven't got a personal conversation going, I can't actually ask you the question. But if I were to ask, how does it look like your life to feel this kind of bitterness? Is this a bitterness that you've known prior to this event? And I could just about guarantee that your answer to that is yes. It's probably something you've been through more than once. And so here's your opportunity to look at the thoughts in yourself, the thought disorders with which you cause yourself bitterness, and free yourself of the bitterness. And the reason why life keeps coming back to us and creating, presenting those circumstances is literally as creators. When we hold, let's say I hold a potential for bitterness, and my bitterness is about whatever it is, ABC. I'm literally, by holding that energy in my mind, sending out a measurable high energy wave, which will pull somebody in to do the behavior that ties in with my bitterness. And so, there's literally a measurable high energy wave. I like to call it the psychic megaphone or the creative wave that, sends out a measurable energy field that says, hey world, I need somebody that can do this for me so that I can pretend my bitterness is about that. And of course, set up that call, and the promise of the Creator is ask and you receive. Somebody will show up that will resonate that for you, and when they resonate it for you, again, one of two things will happen. You'll either go, you make me so bitter, what's wrong with you? Or you'll go, oh, here's my bitterness again. I think I would like to forgive bitterness in me. And when I can own that that bitterness is mine, then I can ask to be shown the thought disorders in my mind that reflect as bitterness, and I can step into, literally, the removal of the bitterness. So that would be my my support for you on that count. And let yourself move through those layers.
And if she can deal with that part inside of her, then there's going to be a different reaction from him, because if she's not offering that feedback, then he doesn't have anything to go on there, and he'll go somewhere else or whatever, but she can be in a space where she's at peace.
Precisely. Unless there's something inside that inhibits peace. And there's my next forgiveness opportunity, remembering that forgiveness is the tool with which you remove from your mind what never belonged there. Bitterness, hatred, fear, anger, rage, guilt, grief, drama, trauma, weakness, helplessness, none of that belonged in our energy systems to start with. And
she does.
Go ahead.
She does mention that she has the vibe of creating bullies in her life, that's a repeat pattern, and it's a deep-rooted anger from childhood trauma.
So you might go back and do some forgiveness work around the early bullies in your life, probably your power persons. And as you confront and process through those energetic patterns, the high energy wave in you that calls forward bullies will tend to collapse. And when it collapses, bullies will look at you and go, no resonance there, no reason to go over there because there's no energy for them. You know, we live in this world where we tend to create, unless we're really conscious and functioning as love, we tend to create relationships out of our matching bags of garbage. And when we do that, we pull people in who have the corollary to what it is that we have. So if I have fear of bullies, my fear of bullies, literally that energy moving in me sets up a high energy wave that goes something like this. Hey, is there anybody in Dodge that knows how to bully me just like this? And guess what? If there's a bully just like that in the area, they're going to show up. When they show up, they'll do the behavior that they do, the bullying, whatever it is, however that falls out. And when they do that, it will resonate in me, the hurt, the pain, the trauma that I have around being bullied. Now, the tendency will be for me to say, see, you bully, how much you hurt me. And that just perpetuates the cycle because now I'm in the blame game. I'm in denial. So in this work, our definition of denial is when I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, then I'm in that denial, and in that state, I dissociate from the very energetic pattern that I need to heal. So when the bully shows up and does their thing, and they're in their bully rage, whatever it is, and I'm in my pain, what I want to do is cancel my need to be treated respectfully by this bully. Now, most people say, well, Michael, that's absolutely ridiculous. Why would I cancel? That's a perfectly good goal, to cancel my need for this bully to treat me respectfully. Well, when you told me that, you know, the bully shows up and I don't, let's say in this example, feel respected, what you told me is in your file on being respected, there's pain and trauma. And so when I cancel my need to be respected, what happens is my projected perceptual construct of blame collapses. And when it collapses, I get to touch into the root of that pain. And when I can bring the root of that pain forward in the presence of active love, that's when that pain begins to disappear. And so, how many times might I need to forgive? Well, first of all, remember that you're not forgiving them. Never, no interest whatsoever in forgiving anybody or yourself. Forgive in Aramaic means shabag. It means to cancel. You look at the goal that's driving your pain's perception and you cancel it. When you cancel the goal, when you remove the driver that resonates your pain's perception, then your pain's perception collapses. That construct in your mind begins to collapse. When you get conscious as love in the face of what's collapsing, then you can bring that underlying energy to the presence of love and change the whole game. So that's what we hear. That's the core of first century Aramaic forgiveness. You know, as I say, I'm quite cognizant of the fact that it's absolutely ridiculous to cancel my need to be treated lovingly. But if I'm in pain when I'm not treated lovingly, that says there's something in my mind, in this file, so to speak, on being treated lovingly. And I need to clean that out. And so forgiveness is the clean out tool. Forgiveness is about removal. So that's what we're here to understand and support and make sense of. And of course, once you cancel the goal, that's the first step at the core of the forgiveness process. You identify the goal that you held, you cancel that goal, and then you recognize perhaps that you're dealing with a power person dynamic, and a power person dynamic probably took place 1,000 times. I'm probably not going to process through that in the next instant. But when I step into willingness and I realize, once I've canceled the goal and collapsed my perception based on that goal, that there's a power in me that in Aramaic was called Rukudakucha, quite literally a feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of your errors. So wherever you're feeling the pain, somebody might say, oh, I've got such a headache and my neck is stiff and my right foot is hurting like crazy right now, my stomach's sore. So they're the places that the energy is stored that you need to process through. Now, you've got to be willing to confront that. You've got to be willing to leave that open to ever clean it out. Most people stay in the game of denial, and every time something comes up, they puke on and rage at somebody else and pretend that they have nothing to do with what's happening in their lives. But you'll notice it's not long before those things come back to bite you in the butt. And so the idea is to continue with that forgiveness process, that removal of all hostility or fear until you're quite literally finished with it. And I know it seems like a backward process. I can tell you how many years I worked with that in order to be able to explain to you what I just did, in order to understand why you do, according to the Aramaic Yeshua from 2,000 years ago, why you do such a silly and ridiculous thing as cancel a perfectly good goal. Here's why. Your goal is a driver for your perception. If your perception is pain, you need to collapse it. When you collapse it, you get to access the root of it. When you bring the root of pain perception forward in the presence of active love, whatever it is that you're pained about begins to dissolve and disappear. That's the core of the process. So glad you're here to be lending your listening ears to hear how that works and what it's about. And if you want a more complete explanation, you can go to our website, whyagain.org. And over on the right-hand side are all the social media links. On the list is our YouTube channel. Click on the YouTube icon. That'll take you to our YouTube channel. And look down the list, there are a couple hundred videos there. Look for the one named PowerPoint. The first word in the title is PowerPoint. And that will walk you through the mechanics, literally, of over 35 years of work with first century Aramaic forgiveness in order to understand this core piece of it. So just jump on whyagain.org, go to the YouTube channel, and look for each and every one of those videos. The PowerPoint's the one that explains the core of the forgiveness process, the core of why you cancel a goal and what happens. And so, Ms. Jeannie, it looks like we've got about, 17 or 18 minutes left. Anybody out there with a hand up in the field? 22, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, there's no hands up and no questions in the chat room. Something else that I just thought of, why would someone, and I know it happens a lot, I mean, I've actually done it myself, but explain why someone would become codependent with someone who is abusive.
Well, my offering would be that if one has a reality structure that, it might be guilt. If I feel guilty, and that guilt may be long gone from conscious awareness, with that energy, if I'm into that guilt state, then quite often, one of the pieces of research we did in the prisons is we asked people, when they'd done something, quote unquote, bad or wrong, did they feel better when they were punished? And most people in prison said yes. And so if one feels like they deserve to be punished, then the psychic megaphone, the high energy wave that goes out from their mind will be, hey, is there anybody out there who knows how to punish me? And what tends to happen is we tend to draw people in with, as I say, the matching bag of garbage, the corollary to what we hold. And so in interaction with them, we give them the opportunity to forgive what they need to deal with, as they give us the opportunity to forgive what we need to deal with. And in doing that, you end up with a marriage made in heaven, moving through the garbage.